I've talked about before how I believe Steve Sarkisian is the best roster builder in America. Better than Kirby Smart, better than Ryan Day, better than Dan Lanning. I truly believe that when looking at their recruiting, where they put their NIL. I mean, they put their mouth where their money is, or money where their mouth is. I forget how the saying goes, but they match their commitments and promises with actions, and they're careful with what they promise. This is a tactical, smart, tough, committed, passionate operation that Steve Sarkisian and his staff are dedicated to. They went 13-3 last year, 7-1, and they finished atop the SEC, and in power ratings, they were the best SEC team. They just matched up with a Georgia team that, for whatever reason, on the 2 days they played was tougher than them, especially the first day, and therefore, instead of going 13-0, which was possible, they went 11-2 regular season. Then they beat Clemson at home. They beat Arizona State in the Peach Bowl, famed Peach Bowl. I think all Texas fans will forever remember 4th and 13 and the near choke job that occurred in the second half all at the same time. And then they played Ohio State very competitively in the Cotton Bowl. Just ended up losing that game because Ohio State was more experienced and Ohio State outcoached them. But it was a good season, and they followed up that 12-2 Big 12 championship caliber team with a 13-3 SEC championship caliber team. They didn't win the SEC as how Texas won the Big 12 the year prior, but they came close. To be 25-5 for the previous 2 years tells me that Texas football is back. They're back. They don't have to win a national championship to be back. I made this comment on Twitter, and people got very frustrated with me. Before we resume this segment, please take a few seconds of your time to make sure you have liked the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and for any team podcasts and playlists linked in the description, and also comment your thoughts down below in the comment section and join my Discord server via the description. All of those things I just asked you to do are completely free, and they sign you up for things related to my channel, or they don't sign you up for anything. No cost to you, and all the benefit to you because we release daily college football content here on College Football with Sam. If you want to support the channel monetarily, sign up for a YouTube membership, or check any other links in the description for my merchandise store and Patreon page. Thank you very much, and let's get back to the segment. I said that if you don't think Texas is back right now at 25-5, and in conference play in the Big 12 and the SEC being 15-2, if you don't think they're back, then Ohio State under Ryan Day was not elite and was not back from 2021 to 2023 or even 2024 up until they were able to hoist the national championship trophy. And people were saying, oh, well, you know, given Ohio State's history, no. That's not how this works. Texas won a Power 4 conference in the Big 12 in 2023. Ohio State hasn't done that since 2020. Now, they did just win the title, and I'm not trying to discredit Ohio State and make Texas out to be the best program in America. Right now, Ohio State's a better program than they are. What I'm trying to say is Texas is back. The standard is to be back as a blue blood, to be competing for the national championship. They've done that for 2 years in a row. They've shown you that it's not a fluke. They, with this schedule, can easily go 12-0. They could also go 9-3 or 8-4. I think their more realistic floor is 9-3. But look at how they've recruited and how they've developed, and the fact that they've sent double-digit NFL draft picks back-to-back. And then by preseason projections, power ratings, the coaching job Sark has done every year, the management of the roster, the development, they're getting better and better and better. I mean, they're now producing at a caliber of clip that I think Georgia and Alabama were, where you're sending guys to the NFL and you're not returning a lot of production every year, and yet you are still getting towards the mountaintop and in range to be the mountaintop. I love Texas. I don't know if this team is going to win it all this year. I don't know if they'll win the SEC. I mean, heck, with how much they've lost, with the fact they got Ohio State on the road in week 1 along with an SEC schedule, there's a world where they don't reach the SEC championship game or they regress from last season, there's a world that's realistic. But I love their outlook. I do. And that's a complete 180 from where I was probably a year or two ago, or more 2 or 3 years ago. About a year or two ago, I understood that Texas, as long as Sark was there, was going to be in a good position. But with how they're recruiting and developing, and then what they did in the Cotton Bowl, too, was impressive. It was a loss, but many viewed that Ohio State team as operating at like a 2019 LSU clip, and then Texas almost beat them. And that was with Ohio State on fire in the playoffs and not having to play their starters for 2 games in a row because of how dominant they were for the entire first-round game in Rose Bowl, of course. So a little bit of a long intro there, but I like where Texas is going. So that will be reflected in my record prediction a little bit. With all they lose, they only bring back 51% of their production. Ohio State week 1 on the road, San Jose State and UTEP week 2 and 3, bye in week 4. Week 5, they get Sam Houston at home. Week 6, they play at Florida. 7, they face Oklahoma neutral field, the Red River Shootout. Week 8, at Kentucky. 9, at Mississippi State. 10, they host Vanderbilt. Week 11 is a bye. Travel to Georgia week 12. Host Arkansas week 13. Host A&M week 14. From October 5th to October 31st, Texas football does not play in Austin. They don't play in Darrell K. Royal Stadium. They don't. That's crazy. That's just something to mention about their schedule. A lot of those teams on the schedule, I think, are very beatable for Texas. I think Texas is far superior to all of those teams roster-wise, but playing at home and balancing that with playing on the road matters, and the fact they don't play at home for that stretch, that is a little bit insane. I think they have the 14th toughest SEC conference schedule. Not very tough, but if you factor in the fact that they play Ohio State on the road and then you have a road game against Florida, you play Oklahoma neutral field, A&M, you host them, and then I don't even know why I didn't type Georgia in their toughest games. Georgia on the road's their toughest game, I think, by a good margin here. I love Texas and I like where they're at, but there's just, don't know why I had a brain freeze there. I'll edit that out. This is a team that is on the precipice of reloading and potentially improving from the prior season, even with all they lost. I mean, you got Arch Manning at quarterback on my All-SEC team. I think he'll be a top 10 QB this year. I have C.J. Baxter coming back and playing well. He's my best SEC running back in the preseason. Quintravion Wiesner and Jarrett Gibson are also represented on my larger-than-usual all-conference SEC team. I think that Texas's offensive line, got Cole Hudson at center, DJ Campbell and Neto Umeozulu at guard, and then Trevor Gooseby and Brandon Baker at tackle. It's going to be another good unit under Kyle Flood. Won't have the same talent it did last year, but it's still highly recruited, and Flood's one of the best recruiters and developers in the game on the O-line. Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore Jr., Kalik Lockett. Those are wide receivers on my All-SEC team. And then, of course, the incoming transfer tight end from Cal, Jack Endries. Cole Brevard, Travis Shaw, Murad Watson, Alex January, and Justice Terry are All-SEC defensive tackles. I have Colin Simmons and Ethan Burke and Colton Vasek there at edge. Anthony Hill Jr., Trey Moore, and Leona Lefu at linebacker. Michael Taaffe, Jelani McDonald at safety. And Jalen Gilbo, Kobe Black, and Malik Muhammad at corner. And also pay attention to incoming punter Jack Bomeister and kicker Mason Shipley, another incoming transfer. I think Texas has done a good job with their special teams units. It was one of their few questions last season. All of this leads me to pick Texas to essentially do what they did last season. Another 11-2 campaign, another campaign with 7 SEC wins and 1 loss. They'll be tied for first in the SEC. I have them as the SEC runner-ups yet again, once again losing to Georgia in Atlanta, and they'll participate in the CFP and definitely be in contention to receive a first-round bye with the resume they had. I mean, Texas under this year's format, if applied to the 2024 season, would have received a first-round bye. And their non-conference schedule at the end of the year was awful. I don't think Ohio State's going to regress anywhere close to the way Michigan did last year after their title game. And they have to play Georgia on the road, not at home. Florida should be better than last year. Oklahoma should be. They're facing a tougher schedule, Texas is, than 2024. So that, and then achieving the same record, tells me there's a pretty good chance this team will receive a first-round bye. And that will be impressive. It will absolutely be impressive. So there's that. And I think looking at their potential, again, they could go 12-0. They could also go 9-3. I think 11-1 is the most likely because they have better rosters than Ohio State and Georgia right now. They have better rosters than everyone on their schedule. So in a few of their tough games on the road, or maybe Oklahoma neutral field, if Texas is playing these teams competitively, they're going to wear these teams down as long as they're within striking distance. And then with the special teams that they have, in theory, with Bouwmeester and Shipley coming in, they should be able to trade blows in the special teams game, whether that's, good punts that change and flip the field, or kicking field goals when you're holding your opponents to field goals or punts, but you can't exactly get in the end zone. And Texas has had that problem under Steve Sarkisian a lot, along with the third quarter collapses. That's their weakness. Third quarter collapse, struggling to score touchdowns in the red zone. I'm a Big Ten fan, actually a Michigan student. So the best analogy I can come up with is that Texas's offense under Sark has in a lot of ways been like Michigan's in 2022, where they're dominant and athletic and powerful and big and strong in a lot of ways. But when they get into the red zone, you do not know whether they're going to score a touchdown or have to kick a field goal. And last year, Auburn was no longer automatic, and that was a problem. So they will at least, I think, have a automatic presence inside the red zone at kicker. That, plus they're continuing to upgrade their talent roster, and Georgia and Ohio State, I think, will regress. I think they're going to regress more than Texas will in the meta of winning the national championship. I think that while Georgia won't regress as a team from 2024 to 2025 because a lot went wrong for them, I think they'll improve a little bit. Ohio State will certainly regress because they were just that much better than the rest of the field, and they lose a plethora of starters and have 2 coordinator changes. And Georgia has questions on O-line. They have questions at QB. Ohio State actually has questions at the same position, more so on the O-line, much less so than Georgia at quarterback. But they also have questions on the defensive line. Texas gets closer to these teams in terms of matching up with them, and I think they've surpassed these teams in terms of having the build and fulfilling the meta to win a national championship. So that's why I side with them going 11-1 instead of 10-2, despite having a tougher schedule and losing as much as they do. Predicting Texas in a more specific manner, having a few predictions, some milder and some hotter than others. I have a mild, medium, hot, and scorching prediction along with a hellfire one using a Scoville scale. I think that the Longhorns finally have the talent to reload despite losing 12 NFL draft picks. That's my mild prediction. My medium prediction is that Texas fields a top 2 defense with the best pass rush in America. My hot prediction is that Sarkisian brings Texas back to the college football playoff semifinals. Not just back to the playoffs, not advancing to the quarterfinals. I think they're going to at least go to the semifinals. My scorching prediction is that the offensive line reloads, and by the end of the year, it's a top 10 unit. That's scorching because good offensive linemen, are in short supply. I think that in terms of fielding good offensive lines, it's never been more cyclical. You don't have the depth anymore with the portal and with NIL and more schools being able to get top-tier talent. It's hard. And yet Texas has been able to barely use the portal. In fact, none of their current starting offensive linemen were portal players. All of them have been at Texas their entire career. That, along with the supporting cast they have, along with Kyle Flood being their O-line coach and how he's recruited and developed, I think, despite losing 4 starters, this unit is going to be really, really good. And it's all about Kyle Flood having that continuity, the fact that they're not relying on the portal, the fact that, I mean, they've reloaded before there, and they've reloaded, Texas has before just in general. They didn't return a lot entering last season, yet they were the same or better quality team than they were in 2023, and certainly not worse. My Hellfire prediction is perhaps the only one that's maybe a little bit negative towards Texas, and I don't even think this is that bold. I'm putting it as Hellfire, though, because the national media would certainly think it's bold. I think Manning will be elite. I'm inclined to say top 10. Notice how I said top 10 earlier. But I don't think he'll be generational. And some points I have to support that are the fact that he was the first SEC quarterback since Kentucky had a converted wide receiver starting there, Lynn Bowen. He's the first SEC QB since Lynn Bowen to, I forget what the percentage is, but he created like half of his pressures on his own, essentially running into defenders. And his pocket presence was not the greatest, to say the least. You saw moments of generational upside, but you also saw absolute lows, like that first Georgia game. And he had some turnover-prone moments. So I think that, along with the fact that, look, so we've seen Sark and what he's done. And while I think Sark's a great offensive play caller, I think that there are some consistent limitations within his system. We've seen from Ewers 2 years in a row where he is not a consistent top 10 QB. And Ewers was starting ahead of Manning. Now, I think a lot of that had to do with Ewers' experience in Sark's system, and that takes time. And sometimes the more talented guy at the time isn't the smarter player. He has more learning to do. He has more knowledge to gain. I think Manning's going to be ready. I think Manning's going to be really good. Really do believe that. But I also think that in watching Steve Sarkisian and his quarterbacks, mostly Ewers, I don't think he'll be generational in year one. Now, year two, and I'm inclined to think he comes back for 2026, because I think unless he's guaranteed to go round one, pick one, there's always more he can get because he has that generational potential. I don't think he'll be generational this year. And given what Paul Feinbaum has said, what others, even people I trust, have told me, that is definitely a bold prediction nationally. From my perspective, I just kind of think to myself, well, I'm not insulting the guy. I think he's going to be one of the best QBs in the country. And by the end of the year, maybe he'll be top 5 at that point. But as an overall all-year resume, I don't think that he will be generational. I don't. This will still be one of the best teams in America. They'll at least get to the semifinals. I would give them I'd give them at least top 4 odds to win it all. I know them, Ohio State, and Georgia are up there. Still think Clemson and Penn State are a little bit too low in odds, but in a field that's wide open, that's very competitive by preseason odds, I would give Texas better odds than most teams. The only teams I'd consider giving better odds to are Clemson and Penn State, really. I think Georgia could be tied with Texas, same with Ohio State, but I don't think they could have better odds. I think Texas right now is a better roster build than those two. Ohio State and Georgia just might compensate for it by, for now, having better head coaches. This will be a fun team to watch, and they'll have one of the best defenses in America. That's absolutely for sure. It'll be guaranteed a top 2 unit, and it may not be number 2. Well, at least guaranteed top 3. Let me walk that back. Guaranteed top 3 could be number 1. From the preseason, they should be the favorites to be number 1, along with maybe Penn State. Thank you for watching College Football with Sam. Make sure that you've liked the video, subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and team playlists and podcasts in the description, joined the free Discord server where we talk college football 24/7, and have commented your thoughts down below. Check out the description for any ways you can support the channel monetarily. Everything else I've asked you to do is completely free, and your support means the world to me. We're trying to become the next big thing on college football YouTube. 6-figure subscribers, maybe 1 million one day. I think we can do that. And also check out any videos or playlists, anything in these columns right here, where there will be videos and playlists. Yeah, you get the point. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.